Hey, nice too. I'm liking the grandpa look. What?
Hello, and welcome to Waste of Space, where we analyze aspect ratio usage in cinema, one movie at a time. This is part one of a special two-part series where we look at the two Fantastic Four films directed by Tim Story, starting with the titular 2005 film. Presented in the aspect ratio of 2:3:5 to 1, Fantastic Four tends to use the wide frame in very standard ways. This isn't a bad thing, as it allows for two common trends, showing off environments and having multiple characters on screen. And the film doesn't just do these two things separately, they often happen in the same scene, either one after the other or at the same time. The introduction of Reed's Place first comes to mind, as it shows the characters checking it out while the camera shows it off. Johnny and Ben on the space station is another great example, and while this one mainly focuses on the characters filling the screen, my main argument here is that the wide frame shows us everything we need to see and know while never wasting any space. I noticed moments where zooms were utilized to present information in interesting ways. The first example is the first shot, which zooms out from a Victor Von Doom statue to show Reed and Ben talking below it.
Typical of Victor Von Doom to build a 30-foot statue of himself.
Combined with a few additional shots and angles, this first scene does a good job of establishing where we are, who's talking, and what the topic of the scene is. Another zoom happens in Johnny's introduction, where we see him kissing a woman in a moving car as he's riding a motorbike. This scene exists to show Ben being against taking orders from Johnny for their upcoming space trip, but it also shows off the environment in a really nice way. Just take this shot of Ben and Reed arguing. Even though there's a bunch of space, it shows just how large this place is, and Johnny taking a while to get to the launch site also shows us how large it is. The aforementioned scene demonstrates how familiar techniques, like close-up and wide shots, can happen all in the same moment. You really notice this sort of thing in scenes like the one where Johnny and the nurse go downhill racing. It combines wide environmental shots, two shots, close-ups, extreme close-ups, medium shots, and whatever this is. Same thing can be seen during the bridge rescue and the final battle scene. I would argue the bridge rescue has more varied use of techniques and angles, with the final battle emphasizing space and the environment. I'll go a step further. Since the bridge scene is the first time these characters are publicly saving the day, we mostly get individual shots of the characters being heroic, which results in scattershot usage of close-ups, wide shots, etc. The final battle has the whole team fighting together, so there's a greater emphasis on group and environmental shots, but there's still some close-ups. If there's one final thing I want to mention, it's Victor Von Doom. He's the central antagonist of the picture, and he probably gets the most varied and creative use of widescreen framing. After that opening statue scene, we see Reed pitching his space exploration plan to Victor, who stays in shadows before revealing himself in the light. There is a ton of space here that works both vertically and horizontally. In the first shot of the film, thanks to the wide horizontal frame, we get a decent idea that the statue is obviously taller than Reed and Ben, which both characters acknowledge. Then, Victor makes his presence and power be known, aided by shadows and a large office. Victor doesn't have to be filmed as big and bad, and honestly, he never really is at any point. But these opening scenes establish him as the obvious big bad with a combination of lighting, blocking, and framing. Elsewhere, Victor fights with the stockholders of his company, who are never filmed or framed as being bigger or scarier than him. But what they do have over Victor is the ability to pull out of his company, which results in a dolly zoom. This zoom, which works incredibly well in 2:3:5, basically announces the arrival of Dr. Doom, who starts murdering people while becoming more and more metallic. I especially love the scene where Doom realizes he has control over electricity and starts playing with it. We see his whole bathroom, the lights, and a close-up of the man harnessing it all before shrouding himself in darkness.
Interesting.
I hope you enjoyed this little look into how Tim Story's first Fantastic Four film utilizes the 2:3:5 to 1 aspect ratio. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll be covering the sequel, Rise of the Silver Surfer. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.